The AR-15 is America's rifle, and today we're out the range to talk about a new AR-15 that's on the market, and it's called the GOAT 15. But it's unique in that it's extremely small, a fraction of the size of this M5 rifle from Colt, and it chambers .22 long rifle. This is a very cool rifle. I saw it at a recent trade show, and I just wanted to get my hands on one to play with it because I'm a fan of the AR-15. More than likely, if you're watching this video, you're a fan of the AR-15. And this is really cool. It has a number of neat little features, and it brings something to the table that a standard AR-15 like this may not. So let's get started with today's video, taking a look at the AR-15, but specifically the GOAT 15 in .22 long rifle. A lot of folks ask me, how can I get involved in the firearms business in that particular community? And one of the best ways to do that is to become a gunsmith. Every gunsmith I know is just overbooked with work. It's a very good living. And so if you would like to become a gunsmith, you need to go to a gunsmithing school or become an apprentice for an existing gunsmith. But Modern Gun School is an accredited college that also works with veterans in the GI Bill, where you can go and get a degree from accredited college in gunsmithing and then go out and start your own gunsmithing business, which I think is a really great option. Again, throughout my entire life, gunsmiths have always been able to earn a really good living, assuming they have a really strong work ethic. So please check out Modern Gun School. I do have a link in the video description below. This is the GOAT 15. This little guy is very small, a fraction of the size of a standard AR-15. It's made out of polymer and steel and various bits and pieces, but it weighs about 2 pounds, 14 ounces, so it's extremely lightweight. Again, it uses .22 long rifle as its cartridge, and it has its own proprietary magazines. And there's 3 different flavors of this magazine available. We'll talk about that in the video. The end of the barrel is threaded 1/2 x 28, so you can run a suppressor on it. It comes with a little thread protector on the end, which I've taken off and stuck the suppressor on. It has 1913 rail across the top, as you can see. And we'll take it all apart. It's a little bit different than a standard AR-15 in terms of obviously how it functions. It's a simple blowback design. It does have an adjustable stock on it, and it has a unique safety, which we'll talk about this here in a moment, and some of the cool attributes about it if you're trying to perhaps teach new users or new shooters how to use a rifle. We'll talk about that here momentarily. But yeah, just a very, very cool little gun. Now here's one of its proprietary magazines. It has ping pong paddle, just like a standard AR-15. AR selector lever over here. And yeah, just an insanely cool little tiny gun. So that was 5 rounds. So it has a 1-round magazine, a 5-round magazine, and soon enough they'll have a 10-round magazine available for the guns. So this is the GOAT 15 next to the M5 Colt that I opened the video up with a little while ago. Now you can see that the gun is considerably smaller than a standard AR-15. Of course, it has to have a 16-inch barrel to meet those federal laws, but it's still very, very small as compared to a standard AR-15. Again, 2 pounds, 14 ounces empty with a full 5-round magazine. You're right at 3 pounds. Here you're looking at about 6 pounds. So it's roughly half the weight. Now again, they've accomplished that through the use of polymers. So the upper and lower are made of a high density polymer. That includes the buffer tube, but there's no spring or recoil system in there. When we take it apart, we'll show you that. It has a 7-position stock that's very much like an M4. And you'll notice it has this really narrow A2 style grip that's shorter and more narrow than a full-size grip like this. It just kind of feeds into the overall size of the gun. Now it does have standard controls, so you have a ping pong paddle over here, a selector lever, and then your magazine release. You'll notice it does not have a winter trigger guard or anything like that in it. The takedown pins do require the use of tools. They're not simple push pins with detents. And again, the action is just a simple blowback. Again, there's nothing in the buffer tube back here. It's just simply a mechanism to attach a stock to it. Out here, it is a monolithic upper, so it's all one piece all the way out here. Then you have M-lock on the sides and on the bottom, and then a 1913 monolithic rail across the top. And on top of it here, I just have an RMR with a raised mount. Now, it does not come with any sights in the box. They recommend you use a red dot sight, but you can put regular Magpul backup sights on it or something like that if you just want to use standard iron sights. I put a red dot sight on pretty much everything. It has a 1 16-inch twist, right hand twist on the barrel, .22 long rifle, 1/2 by 28 thread out there on the end. So you can put suppressors on it, standard T-handle charging. This is polymer as well. You can see it kind of flexing a little bit. But overall, the use of polymers isn't too concerning given the application of the gun. So this would be a great little squirrel rifle, little backpack rifle, little, just plinking on the range rifle. If you have a new shooter, this rifle really is going to it's going to lend itself well to teaching a new shooter how to use an AR-15 because all the controls are familiar. The mag release, the bolt release, the charging handle, all that stuff is there. It's all correct, albeit smaller. But then also you have this unique safety system. So let's talk about that here really quick. So over here we have standard selector lever, but over here we have this knob. And the knob, you can select fire or safe with the knob as well. But the feature that's interesting about this is when you pull out on this, it has a little spring in it. When you pull out on this and rotate it, it'll drop into a lock position. And then when you put the gun on safe, it will not come off safe. Or if it's on safe when you do that, it will not come off safe. It locks the safety in the safe position. So if you're teaching a new shooter how to use the weapon, you can lock that safety, put it around in the chamber, lock it, talk to them about fire control, trigger control, all that stuff. And then when you're ready for them to shoot, you just lift up on the knob, turn it till it drops back down, and then they can put it on fire and shoot the weapon and put it back on safe. So it's just one extra tier of safety. Now it does have standard AR-15 looking fire controls, but everything on this gun is much smaller than a standard AR-15, so you're not going to drop a Geissele trigger into this thing, right? You're just going to have to run what's in the gun. And again, when we take it apart, we'll show you what it looks like on the inside. But everything on it's really nice. I mean, it's the polymer. I had to do a double check when I first saw it. I mean, I can see the seam and stuff on it, but it has almost an aluminum look to it, but it's very much polymer, upper and lower. It has full fencing here, so that's kind of cool. It does look like it's a clone, if you will, of an A1. There's no reinforcements back here. But yeah, overall, even for my large frame with the stock all the way out, I can shoulder it quite nicely. Of course, it's 22 long rifle. There's no recoil. Let's do some more shooting with the gun. Now we've talked about some of the features. We'll do a field strip, show you what it looks like on the inside. And yeah, at the end, I'll let you know what I think of the firearm. I should also mention that these things come to market right around $469. And yeah, so they're not super inexpensive. You can buy a PSA AR-15 and 5.56 for about that same amount of money, but you're not going to get the cool features of this GOAT 15 in terms of its size and weight and things like that. All right, let's do a little bit more shooting with it, and then let's take it apart and take a look at it on the inside. These little magazines look just like AR-15 magazines, only smaller. Kind of cool. So loading it is just like a standard AR-15. And then you hit the button, magazine should drop free. My other ones did. Try this one. And they're not dropping free. They were dropping free. I'll try this one. It's got bugs all over me. There we go. You can see with your own eyes, but it does not have a forward assist. It has this little miniature brass deflector over here. So one thing I do want to talk about are the magazines. So here are the two magazines that are currently available with a 10-rounder coming. So this is a 1-round magazine. It literally will only take 1 round. Now this, again, coupled with the safety, is ideal for teaching a new shooter how to use the firearm. People that are younger, smaller stature, this is going to appeal to, but even adults like myself, it's still a very pleasant, easy to use rifle, even though it's much smaller than a standard AR-15. But you have that 1-round magazine, and then you have the 5-round magazine. And they are hold open magazines, so when the gun is empty, it will lock open on that last shot fired. A 10-round magazine is coming, so that should be available here soon. All right, so let's take it apart. Now, as I mentioned, it does require the use of tools. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure the weapon's empty, magazine's out, just check the chamber and let that bolt go home and relieve the spring pressure. Then you have pins where the push pins would be on a standard AR-15, but these are basically held in place by screws. So one side's a flat head, the other side is a Allen head. Let's see if I can do this. I'm going to do it the other way. I'm going to put this one in the driver and use this one to hold it. Try not to drop my little screw on the ground here. Probably something you'd want to do inside, not outside. So you're just going to unscrew. Kind of reminds me of the front pins on the old 70s and 80s, 60s, 70s, 80s AR-15s, the SP1s. That front pin was a two-piece pin just like this. So there's your pin, and there's the screw. I'm going to put the two together so I don't lose it. So just bite a couple of threads here really quick, like that. All right. And then it hinges open. You can take the front screw out and take the upper from the lower completely, but I'm not going to do that. Now you can look on the inside and you can see that little miniaturized AR-15 hammer. It doesn't have the notch back here, but it has the full auto cut on the front, no auto sear back here on the rear. And yeah, just a little miniature AR-15 hammer. It's so cool. All right. And then you can see our little ping pong paddle, how that works, and the bolt stop. All right, to take it apart, just like a standard AR-15, I'm gonna release the charging handle, pull rearward, and the bolt's gonna come out just like that, and then your charging handle. Now this looks very much like a 22 conversion kit that you might buy for a standard AR-15, just smaller. And so it looks very much like, say, a Signer kit or a DS Arms kit or something like that that I've seen out there on the market in the past. So it's pretty much well-defined. You'll notice, or well vetted, I should say, this basic design. There are troughs cut in the side of the receiver to line up with the guide rails of the bolt. See how it moves on those little rails? That's to keep it from rotating inside the receiver. So these little things line up with those slots. I'm blind without glasses on. You can see how it sets in there just like that. All right, and as I mentioned, there's no buffer or anything back here, so this just butts up against the rear here, and it just cycles, so you don't need this stock. If this snapped off, it would still work just fine. Take a look at the charging handle. It almost looks like a SIG MCX type charging handle, but it's proprietary to this gun. It is polymer too. But that's it. Putting it back together, super simple. Just reverse the process. Put your little T-handle in. You don't have to slide it in and up like you do on a standard AR-15, which I was trying to do. Drop your bolt in. Close your action up. And I messed something up here. What did I do? Sorry, the rear of that bolt was just sticking out. I didn't know why. All right, there we go. And then, almost did it. Almost did it. Stick a pin through like that. I'm gonna go ahead and do this because I don't want to drop this little tiny one. Just like that. I know some of you guys are going to complain about the screws, but keep in mind this is not a fighting type firearm. This is more or less a novelty range toy. So having screws in it isn't that big of a deal. Maybe in a future version, they'll have push pins. All right, but you are dealing with polymer, so you don't want too many small holes and stuff like that in there. All right, but that's it. That's how you take it apart and clean it. The magazines are very easy to load. No tools required. Take one of the 5-round magazines. And this is your bolt stop right back there. All right. Let's do a little bit of shooting with this little guy. Pop off these 5 rounds I just loaded. It's so weird when you shoot it. It sounds like, makes this plastic sound like patink, patink, patink. It's the bolt whacking the back of the polymer receiver. Works fine. I probably had to put maybe 25 rounds through it when I first got it. The chamber seemed like it was a little bit tight, and so dropping the bolt on the first round, it would kind of like shave a little bit of lead off the bullet. That's ceased, and we've been able to put several boxes through it now with no malfunctions. But just know that if it doesn't feed one from the magazine, probably is that the bullet was just a little bit too wide, which is common with 22s. and it'll just shave a little bit of that lead off. Just pull the bolt slightly to the rear, let it go again, and then once it fires and that motion of it cycling under recoil should be enough momentum to go ahead and force that next round in. It's usually, if you're going to run into a problem, it's going to be on that first round. But after shooting it, you know, several magazines through it, we don't seem to be having any more of those issues. So overall, really neat little gun. So tiny. The grip is so small. Look at that little thing. So again, this is the Goat 15. It's manufactured by Hillbilly Gun Labs, and it's just a cool little gun. This thing is a lot of fun. We had that really short break-in period, which is not unheard of, but since then it's been running just fine with Remington bulk pack and also some CCI mini mags, which I keep in the shooting shack. A lot of fun. I do look forward to the 10-round magazine. Maybe in the future we'll see some 15-rounders, but 10 rounds would be a good fit. The 1-round mag, don't have a whole lot of use for, but again, if you're using the firearm to teach a new shooter, it would make a lot of sense, as would the safety. So it seems to be a very well-rounded package for $469. Not horribly inexpensive, but in today's economy, it's not horribly expensive either. So it seems to be a good choice. I certainly enjoy shooting this thing quite a bit. You'll find that new shooters, old shooters like me, are going to have a lot of fun with this thing. If you have any questions, you can ask those questions down below. I try to stick around for the first couple of days after a video goes live to answer the questions you guys may have. If you'd like to support us here at the Military Arms channel so we can continue to bring you content like this, please consider becoming part of our Patreon family. There's a link in the video description below. You'll get direct access to me. I answer all private communications. You get early access to videos and things like that. Also, right here on YouTube, you got the little join button and thanks button underneath the video player you're watching right now. You can hit either one of those buttons and support us right here on YouTube in the age of demonetization. Please swing by, check out Copper Custom. Thank you for 16 years of support. We'll talk to you guys soon.